So we're on page number 10 of the Mathematics of Trades and Professions, and I'm not going to guarantee these videos are going to be real fun and exciting, but hopefully you're going to get a little bit more information than what the book shares. So on page 10, we're going over some just basic stuff that you learned in elementary school, but sometimes, given enough time, you forget so much of it. So we're going to just kind of go over some basics here. And so let's just look at this first one here. We've got 4,068 and we're adding 5,794. Key thing when you're doing addition and subtraction is that the numbers have to line up from right to left. So what I mean by that is if we have 247 and I'm going to add 23, notice my 23 is lined up on the right, and then it moves to the left until I run out of numbers. So some students make the mistake of doing this and don't have them lined up on the right-hand side. Gonna give you the wrong answer. So just kind of throwing that out there as you're going through this. All right, so let's add these together. We start on the right side, if you remember right. And we add the 4 and we get 12. We can only put one number underneath the line at a time to start out with. So when we add 8 and 4, we can put the 2 there. And remember, you add the 1 there. The 1 is, when I'm looking at, say, 12, this is in the 1's position. This is in the 10's. So in the number 12, we have 2 units, 2 1's, and 1 10. So when we have our 12 here, this is our units. We have 2 units, just like I said here, and we add 1 10. So that's why the 1 goes in the 10's position. So whether you wanted to know the theory behind that or not, you got a little bit of it. If you can just do it without even thinking about it, do that. So 9 and 6 and 1 is going to give me 16. Let me get my pencil back. And then I've got 16, so I add 1 there. So now I add the 1 to the 7. There's nothing to carry because 1 and 7 is just 8. There's not 2 digits there. And then that allows me just to add 4 and 5 and get that there. So again, hopefully that's just real quick review. Subtraction is a little bit trickier because you're taking 4 and subtracting 9 and you can't do that. So what we do, if you remember, is we borrow a 10 from the 10's position. So instead of having 7 10's, we now have 6. And instead of having 4, we add 10 to that and we have a 14. So now we've got 14 minus 9, which is 5. And we have 6 minus 1, which is 5. And then we look at the next column, the 6 and the 3, and the 6 is bigger than the 3, so we just continue subtracting. 6 minus 3 is 3. And then we have 8 minus 6 is 2. So that's just a reminder of how to do subtraction. And then we're going to do a little bit of addition and subtraction of decimals. So let's start out with this first one here. One of the key things here when you're adding or subtracting decimals is the decimal has to be lined up. We cannot write this as 9.2 minus 0.7 if the decimals aren't lined up. So in this case, they're going to be without any problem, but there are some times where you might have to make that decision. So let's say that we're going to do 303.27, and we're going to, let's say, add 2.6. So that's one way that students often line these up. They think that they're just adding or subtracting with the rule up here where your right-hand side has to line up. Well, when you're dealing with decimals, that's not the case. When dealing with decimals, your decimals have to line up. So this would give you the wrong answer, and what you would need to do with that 2.6 is put the decimal here, put the 2 here, and the 6 there. And if it helps, put a 0 there, just so that there's a placeholder there. You can always add zeros to the end of a set of numbers. So that being the case, these are lined up here. So I'm just going to subtract and ignore the decimal. I'm just going to bring the decimal down. You always do that. Bring it straight down. And then you just subtract like a regular subtraction problem. So we're going to borrow 10 from that 9, and that's going to remove it down to 8 tens. And we're going to make this a 12. So 12 minus 7 is going to give me a 5. And then 8 minus 0 is 8. And that ends up being my answer for that one. Same thing is true when you add. You have to have your decimals lined up, and I do. And notice I put a 0 right here just as a placeholder. And I start adding these up. 6 and 2 is 8. 1 and 7 is 8. And then my decimals come straight down like that. 5 and 8 plus 4 is 9, 17. And there's my answer. So that is page number 10, adding and subtracting whole numbers and decimals.